What's going on, Gacha Gang? Kawaii50 back with another FGO video, here to talk to you about a pretty polarizing servant for quite a few reasons. But I know a lot of you are super excited about her. We have to cover her, the Child of God Miyu Edelfelt, showing up with the Prismaco's rerun event. If this video helps you out, be sure to like and subscribe. And let's just go ahead and start talking about Miyu. Miyu has a quick arts buster deck with an arts type Noble Phantasm. Her NP per hit at a 0.81%, as well as a passive skill that we're going to talk about in a little bit, makes Miyu a fantastic candidate for generating Noble Phantasm and doing it very, very quickly. One would say it is the strongest part of her entire kit. Looking at the rest of her kit, her max HP at 12,005 is on the higher end when it comes to the general servant pool, but her attack in general is quite low at 8,629. Now it's a little bit more on the higher end, but you have to keep in mind, gang, the reason I say this is because the caster class does have a damage demerit. So you won't see Miyu doing a lot of damage. And when it comes to star absorption, well, she's only got a 49, lower than your average saver. You won't see a lot of stars flowing to her unless you've got star overflow. Miyu's passive skill I mentioned is Infinite Magical Energy rank B, which grants her 4% NP gauge every single turn. Sort of similar to what you see a lot of Avengers running, and with an arts heavy deck, this means she's going to be able to use her NP frequently. Miyu's first skill is Cheerful Model Mystic Code Sister, rank A. This increases her arts card effectiveness by 20 to 30% for 3 turns, and also increases her critical strength 3 times for 3 turns, and that is also by 30%. This has a 5-turn cooldown. When we go over the rest of Miyu's kit, gang, you are going to realize that even though this servant does have an attack-based skill like this, it is her least important skill and should be leveled last. The majority of Miyu's kit is designed to support the rest of your team, and that makes the critical strength boost on this skill dubious at best. I'm not quite sure what they were thinking when they decided to add that modifier onto this. The arts card effectiveness boost is nice for NP gain, but you're already gaining a lot of Noble Phantasm with her normally, between the buff and the stacked arts cards and some stuff related to her Noble Phantasm and the ability to arts Brave Chain. She doesn't really need NP gain all that much, so that's what relegates this skill to the bottom of your priorities list. Miyu's second skill is Maidens Willpower rank B. This gives her Guts 1 time over the course of 3 turns, and that makes her revive with 1,000 to 2,000 HP. It also gives her 1 instance of debuff immunity for 3 turns. The main reason I recommend leveling this second is going to become a lot more apparent when you see what happens with Miyu's Noble Phantasm. Let's just say the fact that you are going to have Guts on a lower cooldown is going to be a lot more important than you might think. Miyu's final skill is easily her best, and that is Child of God's Wish rank EX. This is a targeted NP charge for a single ally, and it's a 20 to 30% boost. It also has the added effect of increasing that ally's buff success rate for 3 turns, and that is a 20 to 40% chance increase. Any and all NP steroids are great on servants, and they're even better when they're targetable, so you can give it to whoever needs it most in that instance. And buff success rate is a very niche but very, very powerful ability in the right circumstances that can fit a variety of servants, a couple of which we will recommend in the allies section. Miyu's Noble Phantasm is Wish Upon the Stars. This grants her a delayed buff called Protection of Sakatsuki, which helps her generate critical stars every single turn, and that's a 5 to 25 star region per turn depending on overcharge. It also has some additional effects. It increases the NP gauge by 10% each turn for all allies, and also restores their HP every single turn for 3 turns, and that is a 500 to 1,000 per turn HP gain. But gang, this Noble Phantasm has a massive, massive demerit. I know that a lot of times I talk about Noble Phantasms and say the demerit is worth the cost. Well, gang, this isn't so much that case. Miyu's HP will be reduced by a whopping 3,000 when she uses this Noble Phantasm. Now, it can't make her HP fall below 1, but it makes her very, very squishy. So you can see why I have chosen the Guts as the second most important skill to level. Miyu is going to be on death's door more often than not. So if you want to use this Noble Phantasm's boons, you are going to need to protect her for that. The other big problem with this Noble Phantasm that I really wish they would have addressed, the HP in general is minimal. 3,000 HP over 3 turns, odds are you are going to be taking that damage. And when it comes to the NP gauge boost, that does not go up as you level the Noble Phantasm. It is a flat 10% each turn for all allies. What would make Miyu's massive demerit far more worth it is if, in the instance of them giving her a buff in the future, they increase that NP gauge increase to scale with Noble Phantasm level. But as it stands right now, well, Miyu's Noble Phantasm at 200% overcharge with that overcharge effect, that is just a max limit broken fragment of 2030 right there. Which you've probably, if you've been playing the game for a long period of time, have managed to have been spooked by a fragment of 2030 at some point. Overall, this Noble Phantasm gang, I don't understand why they did this to Miyu. I don't. Our allies list here, gang, is going to speak a lot about where Miyu fits when it comes to team comps, and I feel that the most successful place you can put Miyu Edelfelt is in a team that is designed to affect buff success rate. Having multiple servants in a squad together to help one servant whose most powerful buffs have a percent-based chance to activate. That is the best place for Miyu to live, making that third skill very, very invaluable. So there are actually a couple of characters that can end up supporting Miyu in that endeavor. The most popular one being the Prince of Lanling. His Great Vigor skill pretty much does what Miyu's third skill does, but at a reduced rate. This is a 20% NP charge, but it does grant that 40% buff success rate that Miyu also has at rank 10. The other servant that provides this benefit is, of course, the OG Ozymandias. Protection of the Sun God grants NP gauge as well as a buff success rate boost. A lot of people use this mainly on him to buff up his own Imperial Privilege skill, but if you really want to build a buff success rate team, Ozymandias can fit in there well as a supporter if you so desire. And both he and Miyu can play off each other to help that ally get the maximum buff success rate on their most powerful skills. But of course, you are going to need allies that have a percent chance activation on some of their skills in order to benefit from Miyu. And don't worry, I'm not going to let you look for them on your own. I have a couple of recommendations for you in that regard as well. Sidonai's Kamui Yukar skill has a chance to increase her attack by 20% and a chance to grant her 10 critical stars on top of the NP gauge steroid it provides. With Miyu providing a buff success rate boost on top of an NP steroid, Sidonai is going to be able to effectively use her very powerful Noble Phantasm against some of your strongest enemies. It makes sense that they would sort of build the Prisma Cosmos girls to play well with each other, and that really shows up in gameplay because Miyu is great to pair with Ilias Veal von Einsburn. Her Suspicious Medicine skill does have a percent chance activation, and Miyu is able to bring that to 100%. So the way this sort of plays off each other is Miyu provides Ilya with some NP gain so she can use her Noble Phantasm. That steroid's a big, big help. And with the same skill, Ilya is able to provide Miyu with debuff immunity as well as a Guts and some HP recovery to prevent her from dying so she can keep using her Noble Phantasm for as long as she is able to. And finally, pairing Miyu with Aresh Kagal adds a lot of bonuses to Aresh Kagal's invincibility skill, the Secret Great Crown. This will make the Secret Great Crown have a 100% chance to give Aresh Kagal both debuff immunity and instant death immunity. So if you're facing some challenge quest bosses with some very, very noticeable gimmicks, this might be a team pairing you want to consider. When it came to building this craft essence list, gang, I just had to accept something as I poured over these. Miyu is going to die when you bring her into a fight, and there is not really much we can do about it. The best we can do is try to mitigate it and keep her on the field for as long as possible. So I've got a couple of recommendations for you. My freebie recommendation being Caldea Lifesavers. This grants Miyu an NP generation rate boost, which was one of the best things I could find when it came to Gutsies for her, and it will revive her one time with 1 hit point. So she will have another opportunity to use her own Guts skill to keep herself alive for another period of time. You can also run Miyu with Present from My Master. Present from My Master gives Miyu a 40% boost to her HP recovery amount and also increases her critical star gather rate by 100%. Increasing her critical star gather rate is mainly going to put her on par with some of the sabers, so if you end up running Miyu with a rider like Ozymandias, that rider is still going to command the majority of your critical stars. The main bonus we're looking for is an HP recovery amount bonus. Say you're pairing her with someone like Ilya as well, the HP recovery Ilya would grant her would be substantially higher and help keep her around for longer. Mikoto Bride Training is another craft essence that is good for helping Miyu stay alive. This CE has a 65% chance of healing 750 HP every single turn. Just another chance to give her some extra HP. Moon Goddess's Bath, of course, has the ability to do this as well, but on Limit Break, this is 750 HP guaranteed every single turn. Or gang, finally, you can always just be like me and accept that Miyu is going to die no matter what, so you might as well squeeze every single bit of usefulness out of her for the short time she is going to be on that field. And for that, I recommend Golden Catches the Carp. This will allow her to begin battle with her NP charged at 50% and grant 20 critical stars the very first turn she has entered battle. So you can always have her for a great first turn burst in a challenge quest, granting your main damage dealer 20 critical stars, or you could keep her in your backline and play with her like I do with Kayron. You can swap her out the second you need her, grant your ally those 20 critical stars, use her third buff, because that's what I assume you're using her for, and help your ally get a strong burst of damage. And as for this next comment, gang, I really was on the fence about even saying this, but I have a duty to all of you. I have a duty to all of you to provide you with information to the best of my ability. I have a duty to be upfront to you, to be entertaining to you, to not try to lead you astray when I am trying to consult you on any of these games. It's part of the reason I do these servant breakdowns. So when it came to command codes, I had to sit back and I had to take a look. I had to realize how sparse command codes are in this game. And I had to go ahead and look at Miyu's kit, look at Miyu's abilities, and just think to myself, you know, what is the best counsel I could give to everyone who spends the time to watch my channel? And the best counsel I can give, my friends, is to not give Miyu anything other than the freebie command codes in the Friend Point Gacha. I just really don't think Miyu is a servant that is worth spending some of the higher rarity command codes on, from events, from limited time giveaways, from any of that stuff. So in order to just keep your best interests at heart, in order to look out for the community, I do not have a command code recommendation for Miyu outside of any of the stuff in the Friend Point Gacha. I'm sorry if that makes you upset, but this is what I believe was the best choice to take. Overall, gang, I need to chastise DW for what they have done here to Miyu. I feel for all of you Prisma Ilya fans out there. I really do. So many people were excited for Miyu when she showed up. But looking at her kit, I just really can't justify having her on a lot of teams for anything other than her third supportive skill. Now, I've given you options. I've given everybody options if they really want to make Miyu work. Some allies that can help her do what she's good at doing, as well as some servants she is primed to support. Ironically, 2 of them being Ilya's in some fashion. But Miyu needs a buff. Desperately. She needs a buff to her Noble Phantasm more than anything. Being a caster-type servant where your Noble Phantasm is such a core part of your kit. Looking at other servants like Tamamo no Mai, like Merlin, like Skahawk Scotty, even lower rarity servants than Miyu, like Hohenheim, like Mozart. I just don't understand what DW was thinking. I don't understand what they were thinking with the way that they designed Miyu Edelfelt. I don't understand who at Delightworks, who at Type Moon had it out for Miyu fans, but they have gotten their sweet, sweet revenge. I will not be pulling for Miyu Edelfelt. And unless you have some deep, deep love for this character, unless she is one of your favorite characters in all the Type Moon works, I really do not recommend that you do so either. And those are my thoughts on Miyu Edelfelt that I feel like a lot of people are not going to like. So why don't you let me know what you think down in the comment section below. Please, keep it civil. I know it's a lot to ask for to say that on YouTube, but you know, I just had to try to be honest with everyone who takes the time to watch this channel. If you want to talk more FGO, go ahead and hit us up on the Discord. And if you are okay with me trying to tell it like it is, well, my Patreon is open as well. Thank you to all of the patrons. I hope this video did not hurt any of you, patron or not, too deeply. This is Kawaii50, hoping, in spite of this video, that you have a phenomenal day. And I'll see you all in the next one.